Good day, buddies. Several months ago this gorgeous weaver ant queen landed on my shoulder, and this ant species is one of the most requested for us to raise and keep. Since she go for me, I decided to accompany this queen on her journey of establishing her own colony. And she immediately shed her wings, which is a good sign, at least for this species. I already raised multiple colonies of weaver ants before, as they are one of the most common species on my area. But even though heavily requested, I don't specifically hunt for a queen, as requirements on keeping one is a bit hard to achieve in captivity, especially to those who's not well off like me. We'll be tackling some of those along on this video, anyway. In more than a month she successfully found her colony, as she welcomed this first batch of babies or worker ants. We also gave them their first official meal, under my care. Since these girls are a bit aggressive, whenever we try to unplug the cotton on their founding test tube, I decided to install a feeding area or a small outworld, so we can easily work on the maintenance such as feeding and cleaning. I tried to keep up on cleaning buddies, but this ants love to poop directly on the glass walls. So it's a bit hard to maintain it on this small feeding area, as they're also growing in numbers day by day. They also started to produce this bigger workers this time, which is most likely to be crushed. Cause whenever I open the outworld, they're so active sprinting on the scene every time. So to prevent that from happening, we'll be upgrading their feeding area, using this acrylic container, which is the same type of container we use on our previous DIY builds recently. We're just going to drill a hole here for this rubber grommet, so we can just directly transfer their founding test tube here. Of course we also cut an opening to the lid, so we can access it anytime. We just applied an olive oil under the lid to prevent escapees, as this new feeding area will be an open top setup. We also gave them a water feeder, since they have a space for it now. Then we just plug their test tube in. Place a twig to serve as stair to the tube. Then offered sugar water on a cotton, and a pre-killed roach to celebrate the move. We also covered the test tube, so they'll feel secured and comfortable to the new setup. When I checked them at night on the same day, they covered a portion of the tube entrance using their larvae silk. They did it to achieve their humidity they need, as the new feeding area now is open and offers lot of ventilation. And after more than a month of living here, the setup slowly gets dirty again despite our efforts on cleaning. This is one of the reasons why I don't recommend keeping weaver ants on an artificial setup, as they really poop on the glass walls. With their numbers now, they can easily get on my tweezers while cleaning. As this ants had a really good eyesight too. So with the conditions we have, I decided to move them to a terrarium which will offer them a host plant to nest into. Luckily I made a terrarium on this big enough tank, 7 months ago before I caught the weaver ant queen. Though I didn't make it for a weaver ant colony, as I don't really plan to keep one until a queen stumble on my shoulders. I originally made it as an expansion for my fire ant colony, reason why it's just one tank away from my fire ants setup. Next is, I'll show you quick how we prepared this terrarium. We lay a thin layer of activated carbon for filtration, on this 2 pot likes at the base back corners. I wanted a body of water for the ants to drink or explore, so I made a little pond using scrap acrylics. Then attach rocks using super glue for the background. Then just place it on the center. Then more activated carbon layer. And a sphagnum moss layer next, to retain moisture on the deepest part of the substrate. Speaking of it, we added the substrate next. Then planted this little trees on the pots. Also planted Ficus quercifolia to cover the ground as it grows. Added water to the pond, and planted this Anubias nana petite. We also planted moss at the front of the pond. They might die once the trees grow taller and covered the light source, but we still add them as they might still adjust to the low light in the future. So, let's see. We also planted an additional mini tree on the middle, called Argaudagat locally, which is like the Pochera aquatica. They also grow leaves quick. 2 months had passed, and all the plants had been rooting and growing well. Then 7 months later, where obvious massive growth on the plants can be observed, this is also the time we decided to move the weaver ant colony here. Before we move them we need to trim the leaves that can reach the lid, or the barrier area to keep them contained. Before we proceed, let me also say welcome back buddies. And for those new to the channel, you're also welcome to D Colony. Then we move the colony by just placing their test tube inside the terrarium, as they really needed a bigger outworld. Even though the setup is not made for them, the little trees here can provide them the best nest. They grow leaves really fast, so in my estimate they can house the colony for around a year, before we need another expansion. Anyway, the colony had around 100 plus workers this time of the move. My biggest worry is not about providing a host plant, or cleaning maintenance anymore, as their setup now is bioactive, and most of cleaning will be handled now by the cleanup crews. What I worry most is the room temperature, as this tank is located on a hot room where my destructor and fire ants is located. As this tank was supposed to be my fire ants expansion. I'm running a fan on the room, but I'm not sure if that will be enough for the weaver ants as well, especially in the summer. We covered the test tube as we don't want to force them to move on the plants, because of their heat. We want them to move to the leaves if it's really suitable for them, so for now we'll just let them explore, and enjoy the area. Anyway, this setup has 2 of this predator spiders. I'm sure they've moved here while it's vacant for 7 long months. And they did prey on the weaver ant workers, but it's fine buddies as they won't eat that much. Since these ants are kinda big, and based on my observations they can only consume an ant each in a month. So it's no big deal, as the colony produce way more than that in 1 month. They took 2 days before deciding to make a leaf nest, and move to the plants. And here is a glimpse of the queen before moving inside the leaf nest. Their new nest is located here at the back left corner. We can't take a nice shot as this tank is also in the corner of the room. Plus their nest this time is way smaller than a tennis ball, so I didn't mind and just plan to take another shot when it grows bigger. We continue to keep and raise them here, for another couple of months, where they enjoy milking honeydews from ant cows. Consumed different carbohydrates we offered as well, and also feast on various types of critters we have given them. But as the time passed by, summer is fast approaching, and the most I worry about, which is the temperature, is increasing day by day. It peaked at 39 degrees Celsius in the first week of March. I've never expected it to reach this high, as it never happens in the past summers. I just let go colonies before, when my smaller tanks that time can't accommodate them anymore. Even before the peak, the colony stopped producing broods, which I'm sure cause of the heat stress. The colony stop accepting protein as they don't have larvas to feed now for sure. The temperature is too much for this species to handle, as I suspected from the start. So I did. And make that big decision to let this colony go, to at least give them a chance to get back and survive. I cut their nest and bring it a little far outside my place, but so sorry buddies, as I forgot to bring my phone when I let go of them, so we don't have a footage of them outside. We'll do another colony next time buddies, as this time we successfully provided a host plant. But we still don't have a place for them to thrive, as we don't have a budget for an AC on the room for now. Anyway, this is a month after they left this setup. Lots of dried leaves, stacked from the top to the ground. I'm even collecting some here to feed on my isopod colonies, so I'm thinking of moving one of my isopod colonies here to deal with the dried leaves straight. Let me know what do you think in the comments buddies. I just hope you have learned something from this video guys. Be a genie for the first time, by granting my wish and tapping the like and share button, that would help a lot. This is D Colony, saying goodbye for now, but hoping to see you on my next videos.